So, but it would, I would like a refresher.
You are hard of reading.
No, just more of like, what am I doing?
Well,
It was a
yeah.
lot that day.
I created a whole webpage that has all of the fillable forms and all that stuff, so hopefully when we need to do it, all the resources will be there and it'll be easier to have to wrap my mind around what are we actually supposed to do, form to fill out.
Well, I remember all the surveys
So
and stuff, but
stag,
it's the rating them. and-
So if you have a behavior security incident, then you have to do this whole protocol and forms and reports. So,
The big push of it in Moab was about trying to catch kids before they get to that point. So
Right.
it's meant to be a proactive
yeah.
versus a reactive measure, so.
If they were yours, I would have told them.
I was surprised, because I went to
would've spoke
one,
today.
I don't remember, not very long ago. And they really stressed of we overreact to situations more than.
And they did talk a lot about that
Yeah.
day. Keeping things in perspective,
Yeah.
not blowing them out of proportion.
That doesn't happen in
What?
school.
I didn't have a parent in my office after school for that exact reason.
Don't worry, it could be worse.
Huh?
I said, don't worry, it could be worse.
Oh, I know it could be, there's no way. I'll take little second graders with playing.
Could have sixth
fighting
graders
and
showing
fishing.
porn.
Well, with that, Heather, I think it's time to start. Online?
Yep.
We have
two people.
two people online, so we want to welcome our online visitors and everyone tonight for attending. I am optimistic that this will be our final public meeting with our work with Focus 2026. We're getting to that point where it's time to start wrapping up some of the discussions and the document development and get it to the publishers, get it to the graphic designers. And so tonight we have an agenda that's focused on some of the 2-3 things that remain in terms of development and making sure that we're ready to roll with that. So let's just go through the agenda and then I'll launch into the 2 documents that I do not have posted online yet because they're not ready for that quite yet. So anyway, let's take a look at the agenda. First thing I want to do is go over plan components. We'll work through that. We've had some action plans developed and been submitted. Part B on this with the plan is the portrait or a graduate. We need to have some discussion about instructional plan, assessing, reporting. If Casey's online, she's had some good discussion with me about how to perhaps to best go about teaching these 6 pillars that are within the portrait or graduate, and then what's coming around that, and perhaps a goal change around the professional blueprint, and then the mastery-based learning, the communications and reporting around those items, and then if there are any final thoughts. And then again, preparations for publishing and then wrapping up with the public meetings for the year. First thing I want to go through is just a quick review. This is the packet that says Focus 2026 Goals. And these have been around for the last, 3 months or so. We've been talking about them, making sure they read what it is that we're after. I just want to make sure and take a quick look at those, that these are the goals that we want to focus on as a system. And ones that have been added recently within the last 8 weeks, we took goal number 9, which is safe learning environments, and we added that because of all of the work that's gone into our developing safe schools in Emory County. And there's been phenomenal work that's been done around that and continues to do so. So we wanted to make sure that that got some good attention. And then backing up to 7, obviously there's a numbering problem there. It should be 8 or 7 and then 8. And we'll have to fix that in editing. But there's the professional excellence and strategic capacity. That's the blueprint that we've been talking about the how it is that we want to support our teachers in our teaching environments. So we want to make sure that that's correct. The goals 1, 2, 3, 4 are ones that are measured for us annually. Those are the ones that come out with the report card. And then there's the, we're going to change 6 to mastery learning rather than personalized competency-based learning. That was a finding that came out of Jenny Gagan's committee. They asked that that be changed, and then we work towards mastery-based learning or mastery-based reporting rather than PCBL. The committee mentioned that PCBL isn't as widely known or understood as mastery learning. And we also mentioned mastery in our portrait of graduates. We wanted to make sure that we get that correct. Other than that, those were the goals. If there's any comments about those goals, we need to hear what those are right now. So if there's something that's not right, they have been out there for a while. I know, and I'll go to it's like the last 2 or 3 pages. It's the last 3 pages. The goal statement from the coaches, our instructional coaches, and the proposal for the change there reads, it looks like this. By 2027, 100% of instructional staff will engage in a data-driven, personalized professional blueprint that measurably improves teaching efficacy, targeting classroom behavior management, strengthening collaborating across the district, and ensuring continuous skill development aligned with academic standards and student needs, resulting in increased student growth. And then there's the component, the description, and the measurable action. So that's fairly developed, and we want to transition that goal into the one, or replace it with what's listed there before. I just want to make sure that we're at a moment of, we like this, we want this is what we would recommend, and have some discussion about that, because I'm fairly ready to make that happen. I don't know that that's not what we want. I know that we put earlier in a goal statement by into 2026 or something, we'd have all teachers on a professional growth plan, that sort of thing, and those would be goals that teachers would set with their principals in the evaluation cycle. That didn't get a lot of sunshine and a lot of necessarily some support. We kind of do that anyway, but this is the one that kind of played out within those on the committee. So let's start with that, if you don't mind. That way we can get this one kind of established. I appreciate Courtney being here. She's been a part of this committee work, and I wondered if she had any additional thoughts she wanted to share around this component of the
If
goal.
it comes up, I'll speak up. Right now, I feel fine.
Okay, you're fine with it? Yeah? All right, excellent. Any other comments around that? All right, well, I think that's fine. It's a good thing, so we'll work towards that effort. Other things, we had action plans. I know that Heather and Janet were working on action plans, and I have the action plans printed that were submitted with, that's inside the same packet. You can see some action plans around strategic literacy for 24 through 27. Some of that has to do with the law that's going to come out that I believe will pass around literacy intervention, that includes a 3rd grade retention component if all things fail. So that's going to be done for us, and those interventions and those criteria will be required. But that's just K-3. So we understand that, but there might be some other things that we want to assess in terms of what's a good action plan for literacy in grades 4 through 12. So that might be a piece that needs to be worked on. Some of the priorities that are listed, you can read those. This is on that page. Looks like this, and you can read through each of those. The criteria for math follows on the next page. There's a science action plan, and then there's not necessarily as developed ones for graduation and post-secondary readiness or the Emory Portrait of a Graduate Plan. So those are listed there. I would say in framework form, but probably needs some more refining, I guess I'd put it that way. Questions on those? I know I'm throwing a lot at you all at once. All right. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit to Portrait of a Graduate. Casey, are you online with us? Do you see her?
I know Galen is, I don't know about.
Gayleen? Casey isn't?
Well, there's 3 people, I'm talking to Galen, so I know she's
Okay,
online.
all right. Is there any way for her to chime in, or?
There's
or
not.
That's not possible?
I can text her and see if she is, if she's got something that I can repeat it.
We could just have her call in or something?
Yep.
Okay, so there were some ideas around Portrait of Graduate implementation for next year, and she had some good ideas around how that might play out in secondary schools within the literacy block. There might be a way to work in some Portrait of Graduate type lessons around the pillars. I know she had visited with our counselors. If there was a play for them, and there were some that liked that and others that didn't know if they could manage that based upon their current workload. So there were some ideas around what might work and what might not. And so the whole notion around Portrait of Graduate is if we're targeting this fall, which we are, we need a good instructional plan on how it is that we'll play that out, K-12, and then how we'll assess, and then how we'll report. The district did purchase Panorama software, so that will be part of our work to implement that. And that will help with tracking data as well as the Portrait of a Graduate reporting that can occur. They can handle that. And they can also survey, so we can do self-assessment surveys for students with Portrait of a Graduate, where they feel they're at the beginning of the year, and then through periodic times of the year, they can self-report. And Panorama speaks with our systems, so it'll go back and forth on how it is that we want to develop it. So it's a piece of, we want to use that capability to make sure that we can assess and report in a way that is helpful to everybody. Not only the teacher, but also, okay, students understand what it is that they're being reported on. So that's kind of a work in progress still, but I think that we're moving in the right direction. So any comments about Portrait of Graduate? I know Stephen and Casey were working on that together, and I know we're just coming out of winter athletics and how busy that's been, but I don't know if you've got any comments, anything you want to add.
I don't, I've been a slacker, so I'll
Slacker.
get Casey and get caught up to where we need to be.
All right. She was going to come on tonight, but they were playing today, so it's been busy, and I totally understand that. But I think that's some of the crux of what the issues are with Portrait of Graduate is, what's our instructional model going to be, and then how quickly we'll work through those 6 pillars, how they'll look different in elementary school and in secondary school. What's the reporting cycle, and how will we assess it? And we need to figure that out, and what it is that's going to work for all of us. What do you think, I guess, since we got a good presence of high school here tonight, what do you think about utilizing the literacy block that we have?
That might be our one time, I guess not only, but it might be a good place to do it. I don't know. Courtney and I've had a brief discussion on literacy and if we need to shift it more just to more language arts classes and language arts teachers, and then maybe we can use this to focus a little more on pillars as a whole school. I don't know. So I think it's doable.
Can they both happen? That's my
use
question.
literacy to drive
That's kind of what we're trying to
instruction.
figure out.
Yeah.
We're putting our brains together,
Yeah.
and they're right now just scrambled.
We have a 24-minute period that we can try to do both.
Because obviously, reading scores are down in the nation and state. And so we just got our pre-ACT scores back and they were awful. And so Stephen and I have been like, well, we better do something or we're in a lot of trouble. So this 99% graduate rate will not happen if we don't do something, because those kids are not academically where they need to be.
Yeah. Our ninth grade pre-ACT is fairly low. And we don't know if that's how much effort was put in, or, you know,
Yeah, there
it's-
could be a
there's so many
combination.
variables, it's hard to say, but they don't.
Yeah, I understand that. So, and we don't want to take any away from anything that's working, or might help improve that type of position. So the question, I guess the question within that 24 minutes, is it possible to say during various blocks that we can speak to literacy and critical thinking at the same time, or hard work at the same time, or communication skills at the same
I
time?
think for sure.
I think all of those
it's
fit.
adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of setting your objective. You could still read a story, you could still do phonetics, but have that objective be what formulates your lesson, you know, so.
And to hit them throughout the year, I mean, I'd say we're not gonna hit them all right the first few weeks, but if you hit all the pillars
Stagger
throughout
it, have
the
like a
year,
scope and sequence of it,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I think it's plenty. I
Is
think
that
it's
what you're
doable.
thinking, Superintendent, like a scope and sequence, like Heather said, where you're like doing one thing and then another and then another?
Yeah, I think if we target this, and we'll have to talk about elementary school and how that might fit and where it's best to fit. But if we take this literacy block and we develop a scope and a sequence of how we want the pillars to play out through the year, you're not gonna do it all at once. I mean, that's not the way we wanna do it. But like the first X period of time, we focus on critical thinking. We just work through those 6. At the beginning of the year, we do a self-assessment for the grades that's appropriate for, but we're gonna have to monitor and observe progress within these 6 pillars, and then have some sense of, yep, they're on track, and then some sort of reporting.
I think it's doable then. Like you could have each, if there's 6 pillars, you could have like a pillar in September, a pillar in October, November, take December off, you know, and then January, February, March, April,
Yeah,
like that.
yes,
Is that 5?
that's what I'm thinking, that's 5.
Well,
You know, you
there's
go
just
6
a-
weeks and it probably works.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that what we do currently is we have learning intentions
Mhm.
for each week. Just shift that to a pillar per
Exactly.
week, and you just rotate, every week is focused on a pillar for that week. And then you're
That
just
would work too.
constantly rotating through it. I know that we just take one day where we do some informative text that deals with specifically that learning intention. So you just shift that to, we're reading a text and having a discussion about that specific pillar. And it would only be once a week, and then you can focus on, you know, novel reading or whatever other skills that
I think there's lots of
you're
ways you could go
working,
about it.
that just takes a little bit of extra planning, somebody that's willing to come up with the materials. That's my Megan, that's what Megan does at my school.
So, I think this works. I would need the elementary school to kind of give us some insight into, all right, if this is what it looks like in secondary school, how might this play
Yeah,
out
work for you guys.
in elementary?
Very good question. Well, everything I've seen from other districts that have used their portrait of a graduate, it's built in as their, help me here.
Character
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, it's their
Can we say that
citizenship
anymore?
type of a thing. Versus, instead of having,
Or
you know,
good
a different
citizenship.
scale of how their functional classroom skills and those things are, they have it as those pillars there. And that's, I think for
That would be
elementary.
determining when how
Well-
they're finding the time.
I think the
system
younger
to
they
do it.
are, it would be more based on like teacher observation. That doesn't mean to say that teachers can't lay out those expectations overall, because I think that's what the rubric is for, is to,
Yeah.
in kindergarten, this is what you're looking for with work ethic, and in, you know, in critical thinking, and then as you're watching those, you can, I think that obviously it's gonna take a lot of time, going back to the video that introduced all this. It was 10 years before they were able to get it into more of that student
To get good at it. yeah.
accountability piece of it, where the students are recognizing what's expected, so then it will become more, you know, they would know by the time they even got to secondary what teachers were looking for, what those pillars are, why we're focused on those. So I think the younger grades, it would be a lot of teacher observation, using that rubric to say, hey, are they exemplifying these skills? And if they're not, you know, how to help develop those, and that's something you'd have to work in with your PLCs. And then the older they got, the more you just would have to be very good at, you know, is it posters hanging in your room, a lot of that awareness piece of
And I think you would be doing lessons, you know, age-appropriate lessons, it would just be making sure you had access to that a lot.
It would be more like a culture developed into the setting itself, so.
Yeah.
So how much lesson development and curriculum do we need?
Well, it depends if you're gonna do something similar to like what Jarrett was talking about, or if you're going to have a curricular focus for, you know, every week for 6 weeks and then loop around, which I don't think is a bad idea. I think because it's more of a spiral review, they don't just get it once through the year, they get it other times. But I don't know, it may take looking through Panorama to see what they have at the different grade levels as far as lessons that would be, could be focused and adapted to go for those pillars.
So just no Panorama isn't necessarily gonna create, like, what, all the students grabbing data. create-
No,
But
they're
we can
their
use that for the
lesson
surveys to inform
base
us.
that
Right.
they said
They
they
do
had.
have a bank.
They have 1,000 lesson bank, they shared that with us.
Yeah, so if you've got
So
like
the
that
question would
second
be, can we
grader.
find lessons that are in that already developed? If we can't, then it would be looking at some of the what the counselors are using, the programs there, and pulling some of that in for that, or the bot-vin lessons, or things. Seeing if there are things that we're currently having that could be adapted into that, and if they aren't, then we might have to look for something beyond there. Might be reaching out to other districts that currently have developed things and.
Stay on.
Question would be, do
Yeah.
you want us to, like, as secondary, have the same type of lessons, in the elementary to have the same type of lessons, or you gonna leave that up to the autonomy to the individual schools?
Both. I think there's autonomy,
That's a good answer.
yeah, there's autonomy to play here, of course, but there should be some structure.
Set expectations.
Some expectation that this is what we're working on, this is what it looks like in these grade bands. And so we do have a commitment from Panorama to help us with this. I've had more than one discussion with Kaylee Dunn, she's our representative, and they do have according to her, they have a strong bank of lessons for a lot of things, not just this, but they're committed to doing the surveys, they're committed to helping us walk through. But really the piece where it'll fall apart, the way I see it, is if somebody needs some instructional materials or some sense of what the scope is gonna look like and it's not there, then it's just gonna fall apart. The other piece, if there's no end in mind, you know, what that reporting period is gonna look like and how that's gonna be represented, it's gonna fall apart. And so we have X number of months, not many, left to make sure that this is ready to go first day of school. So that's kind of the work that's before us in making this happen.
Tiffany Calla just texted, she must be one of the people that's online.
Okay.
She just said, I'm definitely for the citizenship and building of the skills across the board of curricula, so that is her input on this.
Okay, great, yeah. And I know we do have some counselors that are willing to carry the ball and help with this. It's not united, but I do know that there are some there that have said, yes, we can help with the instructional piece on this as well. So It's really, I think, just, this is the recommendation from the committee, this is what needs to play, and then we'll develop the structure so that it can be delivered out. The final piece is, with this is, and this is where Doug comes into play, how does this work in a reporting structure within Aspire? How does this play? What needs to be developed so that we can have, I guess, an easy way, I don't know how else to put it, a user-friendly way for teachers to present their observations.
I think we're gonna leverage Panorama in the sense of, even if you take adopted lesson plans, whatever, Panorama's gonna pull data from different data points. So it's gonna go out to star reading and pull literacy, grade levels in middle schools, elementaries. It's gonna go out, so that's where I think each of the principals and the people need to collaborate and decide on what are the data points, and then we can build it in our scripts. That's the data we're compiling into that dashboard and use that. Now that includes Aspire. So if you, in Aspire in your grade book, you have standard-based grading, so you have all the standards. Well, we can withdraw those standards and how the kids are doing in those standards into Panorama and still be part of that reporting.
Can there be a portrait or graduate, however it is that we want to say, on target, progress?
Isn't that
and
what
that-
a rubric is for?
I just asked that question.
Yeah, that's what it's for, but I guess what I'm after is,
Because it's like.
it needs to flow through.
Still
So that's where,
developing,
like, they're talking with citizenship.
proficient.
If you build citizenship that way, and we pull out of Aspire the citizenship grades, or what they've done, then we can compile that in Panorama, and you would have that output.
In fact, they already have those citizenship grades in Panorama.
So do we want,
One in Aspire.
are we labeling, we're not labeling portrait or graduate citizenship, are we?
Well, we would have within it, so if you're measuring integrity, and somehow the elementaries decide how are we gonna score that, how are we gonna enter in data, we would pull that data out, and in the report, we'd say integrity, and have that defined, that number for the
So that,
report.
those pillars would play out within, under that label.
I
Exactly.
know a few of the school districts I've seen at the elementary level, that is their citizenship, is those portrait of a graduate. Because those are the characteristics you wanna see demonstrated from a student. Because we don't necessarily have the same criteria for citizenship as secondary,
And the
so I
only-
can't speak for
And the only
secondary.
place I can think of to put it, unless you guys have other ideas, would be in citizenship, because then you could create hard work or integrity, all that stuff. You would label that in your citizenship Aspire grade book, and then assign a score to each individual and how they did during that instruction. Or if it's in your 6-week thing, you could define it in your 6-week thing, give it a task, give them a score on that task, so you can at least measure the progress of each individual child.
Okay, so just for clarity for me, all right? Citizenship would be critical thinking, effective communicator, resilient, personal responsibility, strong work ethic, civics/citizenship. Those are the 6 pillars that are labeled. And so do we want it to say citizenship, or do we want it to say citizenship/portrait or graduate? That way there's some
I would say
relevance
We
between
could
portrait
the
label
or
it
6.
portrait or
Just
graduate.
call it portrait or graduate.
But that's where we'd pull that data, but we could call it portrait or graduate.
But it seems like, to me, citizenship right now is comprised a lot of like attendance.
Just attendance and targets. Right.
So it doesn't have to do with the 6 pillars.
But what, does Panorama have a report that, which report would look better and be more
I don't know. I've-
encompassing?
So the citizenship just comes in
I
on
would
a,
definitely, I probably think Panorama would have a better report than Aspire.
yeah, for sure, better
As
looking.
as far as that part of it.
I
And
guess
then
what
it
I'm
would
getting
pull,
at,
it would pull that
there's two different
citizenship.
things. Panorama's gonna make it look nice,
Yeah,
but we're pulling data.
That's what I
You're pulling
mean.
data
It
over
would
here.
pull
We're
it.
gonna withdraw it and then make it nice and output it that way.
So the report cards will look like, they will look different because they're coming out of Panorama?
For the,
For
portrait of the graduate.
of the graduate.
Okay, so there's gonna be like 2
report.
pages? One is your.
Probably.
Just wanna be clear.
that's one of the
all.
things we'll have to work through once we identify all the data points. We get the data in, then how do we manipulate the output to make it look the best we can?
So as a team, is that what we want?
I don't know, I'm just thinking of teachers to keep track of 6
Yeah,
pillars to try to figure out.
Especially if the
citizenship
pillars
grade.
are rotating
Think of,
weekly.
we're gonna get hung or shot.
Well, for some, they'll rotate weekly. I don't know that that's what you want. I
just
heard
think
that, but I'm like, that might be
do they
too,
get a grade
too aggressive
for
if
It
it
would.
goes weekly.
for your 25-minute class?
They get a pass or a fail.
Could that be part of just that grade in that class, is a portrait of graduate? Instead of having every teacher have to
But it wouldn't
do it,
break it
because
up by
Panorama
category.
will pull in all the data from every teacher to give you a picture of what this student's doing.
But it wouldn't break it up by category, so you wouldn't know the difference between integrity and work ethic.
Unless you put it in. and
Unless
it's-
you
Unless you
collected that data in
unless you
that
identified
class.
That's
it
what
in
I
there,
think Jared's
yes.
indicating, is that we could just, in our literacy period, have under Aspire, because we have literacy periods in there with our classes,
Right.
and we just have those little dockets with each of
Yep.
those.
So the way
It's-
Panorama
people won't
pulls
be happy.
grades is it isn't by, it isn't by subject right now, so it just pulls their grade.
Oh, so it's gonna pull everything, so it'll pull like Chandler's class, my class, plus their literacy.
Which would be
That's not to
kinda
say they
cool
couldn't-
If it was all brought into that class and that's a portrait of a graduate, I mean, it encompasses it
I mean,
all.
it'd be cool data to look at, but wow, that's a lot.
That's not to say they couldn't do it, but
No, but that's
they're
a
doing it
lot of
on a
data.
state
But we-
level, and they'd
But we
have to customize
Well,
that
we have to
for
pull all the data, because again, one of the things that it's gonna be used for is, say, you wanna look at Doug Johnson, you wanna see how is he doing? Well,
Yeah,
you want an
he's-
overall dashboard of all of that data, well, we have to pull it all for you guys to be able to see that dashboard.
It's portrait.
Yep. Yep, so we have to.
So we ought to be crystal clear on this one. 'Cause
Wow.
that's the end product, and if we don't know what the end product looks like, everything in between will fall apart. So if we don't have instruction clear, we don't have the structure clear, we don't have reporting clear, and then the actual end product that the student receives, if those clarity items aren't there, it's gonna fail. And we wanna set it up for success. So I guess that's really what I'm after, is what's the representation of the report card that we're gonna hand out? That's my wonderment.
Can I say a couple things?
Yeah.
One, I know.
Welcome, Neil.
Thanks. Sorry I'm late. I had to go. They're not even setting off the bomb tonight.
Well, that's why you went out of town.
Well, no, that's why I went down there to see it, but no, they're not even setting it off. It's not just that we want it to look nice, it's that we want parents to quickly and easily perceive what's happening.
Understand.
That they understand it. Because otherwise, it'll be like the last time we did the new math. When parents don't understand it and can't help their kids, and we want parents to understand this and help their kids. And then another thing, with the portrait of a graduate, some of the characteristics we're talking about, it will be, I watched, that's how old I am, when they put citizenship on report cards. It was back when we were still chiseling them in stone. They put citizenship on report cards, and it was just so easy for teachers to give everybody an H. So I went through and said, now, every one of you gets an S, unless you do something bad, and then I reduce that. Or if you do something outstanding, and I raise it to an H. And the criticism of me was unbelievable, that I wasn't starting them out at H, that I was starting them out at satisfactory. So I think it would be good if we were all, especially throughout our schools, on the same idea there. Where do they start? How do we grade this? How do we check it? And then when I think it could quickly become a negative thing. You're going to give everybody a attaboy on these different levels unless they do something bad, and then you'll take the time to mark it down. I don't think you'll run a whole different, I don't think there's a teacher, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't think there are many teachers that will run a whole different criteria to give kids their scores in this area.
The difficulty that I see is, and this is just an observation, teachers tend to use citizenship as a leverage to have their kids act in a certain way, like to get certain things done, because they can't do certain things. And so if you change citizenship from what it is right now, which in my mind is leverage to have kids straighten up, you gotta give teachers some way of replacing that tool, that citizenship tool, as it's being used right now.
With specific skills.
Yeah.
I think Neil's right and Steve's right though. It's gonna, that's a big ask.
Yeah.
Cause you're basically asking teachers to enter in, I mean, I need the data if I'm gonna report it. So you would have to they would have to score each of those pillars for every student inside of there to give us the data so we can output it to that report.
So part of, if you remember Panorama's presentation and what we talked about with how it is that they could help us, self-assessment came up as a tool. That students in that grade band that we pick, and we would need to select that and inform them, the students will tell us where it is that they believe that they are performing in each of the criteria that we set. And then measure throughout the year. That should help teachers with that. It should help with this, I didn't get an H, I got an S, and now I'm upset because of that. Well, part of your self-assessment told me that you weren't necessarily, working towards hard work in that pillar because you weren't working hard. However it is that we want to address that. I think that's a win. If students are self-assessing, it's how do we make it easy for staff so that they don't feel like it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
That I understand, because it should be something that's an easy data point for them.
Well, I do think the self-assessment is a good thing, and teachers can look at their self-assessments and say, oh, yeah, you didn't do this good, and change it as they need to, but not have to reinvent the wheel for their whole classroom.
Yeah.
The kids will tell you, I was really lazy this quarter.
Yeah, they know.
Yes, they do,
Yeah.
and they're pretty honest.
So back to where we started with the literacy block, the 24 minutes, and all of this that we've discussed, given surveys, and then for middle schools, will this work? Will it still work? That's my question. Because if it won't, then we got to rethink it. Or we try it, and if it fails, we do something different.
Yeah.
I don't think it works through the citizenship report, personally. I like the
I
self-assessment.
think it also needs to develop fairly soon. I know we want it by the first day of school, but for us to work through Panorama, working with them just on what we just got working with standard-based grading, that is not fast. That's a lot of work and a lot of coordination. So it's not like, oh yeah, just hurry and grab this and give us a report. You're talking hours of trying to coordinate with them, what data are we gathering, what script do we got to do to manipulate the data so it looks good. All I'm saying is teachers and people, principals are gonna have to define and give that info to us so that we can then manipulate it. It's gonna take time to do that.
Doug, are you saying that maybe rolling this out, we don't do we phase it, we don't do it all at one time, because we may not be ready, but we put the grade phase in first, and then we come back with the citizenship phase second, or something like that?
No, I don't think it's much different that way as much as, I just wanna know, and I think it's very important, just like I've always said, what data points are we gonna gather, and then what output do you want? And I just need it in enough time we can perform all the stuff.
So right now, what comes in from Panorama out of Aspire is a grade per class, and then you also get the citizenship grade as well. The difficulty is, I think, the shift from citizenship as it's defined right now and using citizenship to measure these 6 pillars that you're talking about.
Well, I don't think citizenship is defined as it is now. I think that's really a weak spot.
I think it's leverage, like I said.
Very
Yeah,
biased.
And it's up to every teacher, and there's no criteria or anything like that, so I like the pillars. I think that's a lot better step forward.
Yep.
But
Hey, let me ask this then. We can teach the pillars starting the first of the semester. I think that's possible. the first grading period is when we decide. So we can teach it, but not grade it until second semester to get everything ready to roll. That might help us get our ducks in a row. That's my thought. Because you can still do instructional work within these and teach what you're teaching critical thinking every day. It's just referencing it. It's calling it out, making sure, hey, we're gonna do a little critical thinking today here with this, et cetera, call it out. And teach the kids about it. We're gonna measure this, and our first reporting period initially will be at the end of first semester. Does that work? Does that help get it done? Doug?
So the other thing, if you didn't want to put it under citizenship, we could put it in the actual grade book and just have that in the grade book itself as a subject line. Absolutely.
I'm with Brett on the citizenship. We use citizenship to kind of keep our kids in line. There's a lot of consequences of going to games, going to dances, participating in extracurricular. If we change that, what we're doing now, I don't know how we control that. We have to have this, like the way we're doing it now, in my opinion, we have to have that still to keep kids in check, to be able to participate in extracurriculars.
That's fair. So, but we need to add this somewhere.
Yeah.
You can keep it, but then add portrait or graduate. If you're using it for motivation.
So we could add it as a subject in their grade books, and we pull that data, and they would just give a score in that grade book.
But it's gotta be reported at the end of the term.
Yeah, it would be. You'll always have an Aspire report card, but that would even throw it in the Aspire grade, the report card, if you put it in as a actual, as a subject, yep.
All right, structurally, does this work? We can work fine details. I mean, if you think our first grading period would be 10 months from now, I would hope we could get the fine details worked out prior to that. But I don't know why we can't teach it beginning this.
Yeah, I think we
this
can
fall.
teach it, just a matter of how to.
It's just how to.
Okay, great. I'm gonna have a hard time keeping my 8 o'clock commitment, but we're going to. All right, thank you for the input. That helps a lot, it really does. I want to shift away from this document. And the reason I shared this with you is these are some things that have come in and were developed, and I just wanted to stack them all together for you to take a look at, especially with the action plans that came in and how those are starting to come together. This will always be work. Focus 2026 isn't the end. As soon as Focus 2026 has rubber on the road, Focus 27 is starting. And so it's going to get worked on all the time. To get the first one done and started and moving, tonight really needs to be our public wrap-up meeting, and then start working on the development of the actual document. So that's what I want to turn your attention to right now with our last 20 minutes. If you think about an attempt to try to script out what this document needs to have with the guts within it, so that we can get it to our graphic developer and our printer, I just kind of started putting this together. And so I want to turn your attention to the last 4-page. And these are just examples that I've shared throughout the year. And so when you think about and you see comments that I've made within, for instance, our cover page, at the top it says header, Emory, logo and graphic. Title will be Focus 2026, Emory County School District Division for Institutional Excellence. Insert pictures of Emory students, graphic design development. This is an example. This isn't the first time I've shared this one. The only reason it's there is because I like it. But it won't have belong, believe, achieve. It'll have something similar, but not like it. It'll be us. So that's kind of where that sits. When you turn the page, go back to the front, page 2. There's some things that will look like, this is going to be about Emory School District. There'll be some demographics. You can see the bulleted items there that talks about what the school district is. You can reference the Kennewick second page on the back there. And then we'll insert the Board of Education names and photos from our website, unless somebody wants a different picture. And then I've written a letter there, a 3-paragraph letter, well, I guess it's kind of 4, but 3-paragraph plus a sentence that just kind of talks about what Focus 2026 is, how it is that we developed it, how long it took us to get here. Down at the bottom, you'll see this plan represents more than 18 months of collaboration, reflection, and community input. Reminding everybody that the Portrait of Graduate was a community-developed item that was started in over a year ago, and that's where these things came from. It wasn't the superintendent and a couple of other people sitting in the back room somewhere dreaming this stuff up, or this is what I want. We asked for input and received it, and so that's where this stuff came from. So then, next page 3, these are our vision, mission statements that were developed by a committee from this group. And you'll notice when you read through those, yes, there's a lot of words to them, and that's okay. We can have more lengthy statements, but everything that's contained within this mission, vision, and our core values is Portrait or Graduate related. It's all connected there. There's nothing that's outside of Portrait or Graduate within that. And I think part of the statement, and when we start to do a tour with our public, and hopefully they'll show up to share this, is that graduation is our end product. Students that graduate with diplomas should be able to have met the standards that are represented in our work. And so that's kind of the end product and what we want people to look towards. And when you watch that video, again, and hopefully we'll share it even more, but that's really what it is. And when the kids understand it, then we know we've done a pretty good job. So turn to the next page, page 4. What's in Focus 2026? You can see there's 7 items there that are listed, and just another general statement about Emery County School District, non-discrimination statement that needs to sit somewhere within this document to meet the criteria that's required to be there. Then the next few pages are the goals. And so when you think about literacy, math, science, graduation rate, etc., each one will have its own page. And again, I'm going to reference Kennewick School District's, how it is that they listed out their goals individually on one page, and then on another, here's a goal, the goal, and then the action plans that are associated with it will follow. It won't look like this exactly, but this is kind of the framework that it will follow. And so each one of those are listed out. We'll try to follow the action plans, but we don't want this thing to be this thick. We want it to be really thin and have general statements about what those action plans are. But our action plans need to sit somewhere behind these to state this is what it is that we're working on, and this is how it is that we're going to achieve these goals that are there.
Can I just say that our school board just looks a lot better than theirs.
They do. And there's only 5 of you, and that's what's nice, rather than 7. Absolutely correct. So you can see how that plays out. And so the last page, and this will be our back page, is basically it's insert a graphic that will be developed that represents Emery County School District's profile with representing the Portrait of Graduate. So that's kind of how this document in the end is going to prevail and work and be presented to our public, but there will be other things underneath it. There'll be far more specific that people can drill in on and work towards. My hope tonight is if there is something in here or not in here that has been missed, I need to hear it now, because we're rolling. And I've been asking that question for quite a while. What are we missing? What's not there? Knowing that if we get too many, and 8 is a lot, but if we get too many, then the ability to be able to achieve those becomes diminished. And we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get to those goals. We started with 10% improvement, and based upon input and feedback from staff, we dropped it to 3 to 5%. So that's where those goals come. Now in literacy, we can have those, but that's going to be legislated. It's just factual. These goals will be set for us. Comments, questions, things that caught your eye. I see Chandler, he's probably wondering where CTE is.
I think it's all, I think all of it, I mean, that whole thing is CTE, all the pillars are in our classes, I think, but anyway, go ahead, sorry.
No, that's it, that's what I was thinking. I said, you're probably wondering where that goal is, and I've asked Justin to come a couple times, but things have gotten in the way, and but I've invited him to give input. It's not too late, if there's something there that we need to insert that's specific to career and technical education, we can do that. It'll be a grind to get it through, but
Right.
if it sits inside somewhere in one of these goals, then I'm happy to add it as long as the team is.
I think all the pillars, they're all your soft skills that
Right.
you're kind of, we've been doing for a few years, trying to get them to understand the real world and the workforce, so I think they fit good, but CTE,
Yeah.
how we teach them and how we assess them, that's the hard part.
Right, right.
Well, the teaching part's not hard, but how we get an overall picture, a score, that's the hard part for me,
Yeah.
for all of us probably, trying to figure out how to do that.
We could put a sentence in there that is general to a student can complete the pathway.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, it's just to add on somewhere. If you like that, we can do that.
I do like that, yeah.
Okay.
Hard
What
part,
else?
Just for the goals, for the increased graduation rate, you know, we always wanna increase our graduation rate, but with the number of homeschool kids and doing online stuff, and then we get them back, and like, it's gonna be a disaster, I think, in the next couple of years, our graduation rate, just from what we've witnessed this year, how many kids are leaving and coming back and leaving, and we don't have any control over what they're doing at home, and then they come back to us deficient, and then, but we're still responsible, so I worry about how it's gonna look in the next couple of years. Our scores aren't gonna be, our rates aren't gonna go up, I can tell you that. And, which we want them to go up, but the way, I guess, things are working right now, I'm worried.
So,
We're gonna look bad. I think it's not all about what we look like, but
Thinking of data extraction, is there a way, maybe we don't want to, but is there a way to say, if you took out that subset of kids that came back, our graduation rate would be this? Just so the public knows, hey, our graduation rate down to 80%. If you took out our struggles, which is the kids coming in and out of the school system, we would have been at 99 point whatever.
So just
Do
word,
that.
just word it.
Just so we can
Yeah, so if
publicly
the wording is
show,
that,
show the
if the wording
percentage
is
of what it
that
been.
kids enrolled in the
99%.
4 years,
like our
in the
kids
4
that
years
stay with
that they
us,
were
this is
behind.
what the graduation rate.
Yeah, the ones that
99.9 kids
enroll
who
100%
stay
of-
and don't do homeschool.
stay in
Okay,
Emory
so
Type enrollment.
I'm gonna read you the goal, and if everybody will turn to this page, it's the first packet on page, you just turn the page on page 2. So graduation reads this: by the end of 26-27 school year, the district will increase the 4-year cohort graduation rate. Now, what I'm hearing is you don't like the cohort.
We don't have any control over it.
You don't, okay, so to at or above state average of 92%. So that's the one that comes out in the report card. That's the one that, it goes public, it's all over the state. Which, by the way, we look pretty darn good this year. We have the highest graduation rate in our region, and Emory High School is doing great. So that's great. And it also says by improving credit recovery options, expanding early warning systems, and strengthening personalized student support service. Panorama is an early warning system, not just a data collection dashboard. In fact, I had to fill out a survey the other day with the state because they're paying $2,000 for every license. They're kicking in that much, and they're calling it the early warning system. They're not calling it dashboard. So anyway, how might we, this is a team recommendation, how might we modify that to articulate the things that you're expressing in terms of concerns, but also understanding that we're held accountable for cohort graduation. I guess that's where I sit.
Yeah, we have no control over it.
Yvonne's got a comment.
So she says, I would like to see more consistency in citizenship If we want commonality in academic grades, should there also be some common ground in citizenship and the way it's reported and addressed?
Okay. All right, good comment. So, I,
Yeah. And
the time is now.
we probably don't have a law that we can change, because by law, they're included with us, but,
I think you
Like
could
a-
still, like you said, you could have an
frustration.
asterisk
Yeah.
that said,
but
you
yeah.
know, this is the,
And like you said,
basically,
yeah,
this is the state
subset.
rate, or this
So it
is
shows
the
it.
full rate. And then you could just have a subset of that
Our
saying,
students are with us
further,
for 4
for
years.
further
This is our
information,
graduation.
all
Thank you.
students who were, that were with us at that time.
And in fact, I wouldn't mind, I don't know how legal this would be, putting them side by side.
Yeah.
And saying, for those
Here's a
students
graphic of
who
each
have
one.
been with us for 4 years, here is our graduation rate. For those students who've checked in and out of our school throughout their 4 years, here's our graduation rate.
So with that, can we add a statement, this is for team, after this one, after the cohort statement, which is state stuff. Emory County School District recognizes that students,
Who attended 4 years. And then we
recognizes that there are students who have attended for 4 years at Emory High and those that have not. And then have a metric associated with that. Is that satisfactory?
And then you say, this is that rate, and this is that rate.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet a lot of money right now. If we go with the 4 kids that have been here for 4 years, we're gonna be above the state average for sure.
That's right.
Well, we might as well,
above it.
Neil, we might as well play that then too.
Well, and it's
I don't
actually
think
great
it's
data to
very
share with
easy.
the state, because then you can say, here's the effects you're having by allowing all these policy changes. Here's our success in 4 kids that come all the time, here's the ones that come in and out.
Well, the state office and the legislature needs data, and that's some pretty good
There
data.
you go. It is.
I'm not sure we need to encourage that.
Not much we can do.
No, just report it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's violation or anything, I wouldn't think it would be. It's just, it's data, the data, it's the realization of it.
We're hoping to get our students that are online to come back and end of year test with us too, and we're gonna keep track of that, but whether
Whether they will.
we'll get them to come in or not.
If you do that, you just have to define which students are which, like, you know, if they leave for X number of months, is that considered?
Yeah, we figure out who that is, and then.
We
report
could
that
almost
data.
go by the enrollment.
I think it's great,
Like
you can
the
sit side by
out of
side.
180 days, they were enrolled
Yeah.
X.
Okay, we got 5 minutes. Is there anything in the plan that's a problem? Okay, all right. Jarrett, you get the final say. Is your committee had the task of how we're gonna measure whether or not Focus 2026 is progressing in the way that we envision. We all wanna be 100% successful, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the final piece, is what is it that we wanna do to say we've met our goals, this is what we met, this is what we haven't. What are your thoughts on how to do that?
I definitely think that coming with a final report that is easy to navigate for all parents, as far as, here's the status of our district after we've gone through this year. Not only is it reporting our grades, it brings into that, you know, this is our summative report, much like the state sends out to each school, but finding a way to make that more public, and how do we use that and get that within the community, how to show where we're at and where we're headed, and just a summative.
Great.
Even if there's a summative on the percentage or how close we were to meeting that goal, it would be simplified.
Should we task Panorama
I didn't talk to him yet, so.
Yeah.
to help us
okay.
develop this summative piece for
Easier.
Focus 2026? That's where my mind's going.
Mhm.
So within each of those components, why could they not? I don't see anything in
Every
here that they
action
can't
plan
do.
has a measurable
Yes,
goal,
We
it
weren't
doesn't
gonna go
it?
through
it does.
And so,
I think that's what this
it'd be very easy to say, based on the goal, this is
Yeah.
that assessment.
So I'm hoping that you would agree with that this would be the tool to use to make this
Absolutely.
reasonably easy.
Well, then just
Now,
like-
my hope is that doesn't mean you have to do more minutes of work at the end of the month.
My hope is.
Because I've heard that loud and clear.
Just make sure it's September or October.
Yeah.
Especially September.
September.
It's due by October 1st.
Okay, last 2 minutes and then we'll conclude. Things that, within the legislature that I see that we're going to have to add something somewhere. I anticipate an attendance bill will pass. So there will be some things that we'll have to do, whichever one it is that passes, because there was more than one. And the reporting and the intervention plans that we'll have to do. Every student in the district will have to have an individualized reading plan or literacy plan, every student. So if you think of, it's not as extensive as an IEP, but everyone will have to have one.
Wow.
That's where that bill's gone. So there's a few things coming at us that are going to impact some of the things inside our plan that I think we can pivot because it's not going to be finished. Nothing's ever going to be finished with these things. So they're designed to be adjustable. And part of it's because there were just under 200 education bills 2 weeks ago. So we know there's policy changes and things coming at us that will affect us. Anyway, my final statement is I want to share with you, James Wynn asked me to express his appreciation for everybody that helped throughout this process, going back to August when we started, and all the people that came. We had sometimes some great numbers that showed up. I think our highest attendance was at Farron when we reported out on Wolpert study, the 10-year facilities and demographic study that came out. And tonight actually was much better than I thought. So I appreciate you all being here. I share James' sentiment that, and I'm sure Neil agrees, that we appreciate everybody that's helped us get this accomplished. My final concluding statement will be, this isn't the end. It's really just the beginning. And I know we've had 18 community meetings around this because I hosted them all, so I know that we have them. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate anybody that's been online, and everybody have a good evening.
So Jen, we have to get your report, all of those on Tuesday?
They'll be reporting things for those, yes. Anybody that's a chronic attendance student,